Really, Tom? Like, this is the best you have, bro? Like, dude, listen, if you're gonna be a politician, at least be a good politician.
You would know, wouldn't you? Hello, everybody. I am not dead yet, and today I am talking about Revival Fitness and his grand 2-hour-long documentary attempting to debunk main gaining. And I use debunk in air quotes for a reason, because to me, this video came off less as I am going to dispel the reasons you should main gain, and more so I am going to take down Greg Doucette. This video, to me, came off as a hit piece against Greg Doucette and against the people who support Greg Doucette. And now, that isn't to say that he didn't make some very valid points. I think he did. I think that Greg, in his definitions of main gaining, does throw out a lot of contradicting information, but I also think that's a little bit by design, but I don't really care. Ultimately, I encourage you to watch the video and watch Greg's content and come up with your own conclusions. Figure out for yourself what you want to do, what you think about main gaining. I could not care less. Main gaining works for me, but I'm ultimately the worst possible person to advocate for main gaining because I am not actively trying to build muscle. In fact, I've stated it before that muscle building is not my goal. And so, when muscle building is not your goal, how can I really advocate for something? I'm a boxer, not a lifter, and that means that I need to stay in a specific weight class, meaning that I have at most about 5 pounds of weight to gain to make it to the upper level of my weight class. But even then, I'm pretty sure the way things kind of work out, the Olympic or the official cap for my middleweight class is 69 kilograms. As opposed to 71, so even if I did gain the weight, I would have to lose it anyway. It just doesn't make sense for me. So when it comes to the main gaining debate, let me explicitly state it right here at the start of the video. I do not care. Could not care less. I am not here to defend main gaining. I am not here to attack main gaining. The main gaining debate means nothing to me. The reason why I am making this video is because I think that throughout Revival Fitness's video, he comes off as incredibly aggressive and incredibly intellectually dishonest. And in fact, in attempting to expose what he believes to be Greg Doucette's intellectual dishonesty, he simply sheds his own intellectual dishonesty and puts it into light. And so, how does he do that? Well, throughout the entire video, he kind of paints Greg as this comically evil, like, mustache twirling villain that wants to kind of halt your gains, keep you in what he calls novice purgatory, and keep you forever small, because that is how Greg lines his pockets. That's how he sells cookbooks and training plans. And I completely disagree with that. You could make an argument that Greg's content, in trying to appeal to the most amount of people possible, can have some negative effects and can have a trickle-down effect on people, but ultimately, I don't really blame Greg for that. Sure, you can say, oh, he could be a little bit more careful, which he has if you actually pay attention to the content that he watches. You will say, oh, nobody watches all of Greg's videos, 14 videos a week. I watch pretty much all of Greg's content, so I actually know. I know not everybody does, but, like, we gotten through in talking to other YouTubers such as Brendan Gage, it's brought to light the idea that in making so much content and in trying to appeal to the most amount of people possible, there's inevitably going to be things that are lost in translation. And when you have a lot of other YouTubers making content about same or similar ideas, it becomes this massive game of telephone. The fat debate was a really good example of that, where Greg Doucette did say, eat fats. He encouraged a balanced diet, and he said it in a bunch of videos, and yet people, but because he continued to say, listen, if you're cutting weight, take away fat because it's the easiest macronutrient to take away because it's the most calorie dense, people took that and then started saying, it went from eat fats, you need fats, but eat less of it if you're cutting, to you need to eat less fats, to eat less fat in general, to eat no fat, essentially. And it became this massive game of telephone. And while sure, I do not blame Greg Doucette for that, I do think there's an interesting conversation to be had in regards to the nature of what you say and how people interpret what you say. Ultimately, I believe that it is really on the individual, and there are a lot of people, because Revival Fitness kind of just dismisses the idea that people main gaining wrong, but I actually do think, as Brendan Gage stated in his video, that a lot of people do main gain wrong, and that they hear pick a weight you're comfortable at, and main gain from there, and they pick a weight that's just too lean, and they try to add muscle and size, and then they do what Greg eventually ultimately does, bulk up a little bit to a more comfortable, healthier weight, and main gain from there. So again, I'm not defending main gaining here. That's not the point of this video. I'm just saying that there is, I do believe, a little bit of individual responsibility on the part of the viewer to actually evaluate yourself, track how you feel, and adapt certain aspects of what other people say to you. It is not just on the content creator that is saying ideologies. It is up to you to figure out what works best for you. And I think, in my opinion, the whole when we talk about some of the more contradicting elements of main gaining, we talk a lot of people talk about like how the various definitions contradict, and to me, that is by design, because as someone who comes from boxing, which is a very if it works for you, do it type of sport, I can tell someone to get their hands up. You should always keep your hands up, and yet there will always be someone like Prince Nassim who can fight with his hands down here and do the no guard style, right? So my best interpretation of that is pick whichever one works for you and do that. And that is kind of, seems to me how most people who justify main gaining kind of interpret it. It's like, I will pick whichever definition feels best for me and go based off of that. And again, whether you think that is intellectually dishonest or not is entirely up to you, but that's just kind of how I saw it. I don't go too deep into this, so don't ask me too many questions about it. That's just to get the basics out of the way. What I dislike about Revival Fitness's video is how he attempts to call out Greg for having this massive ego, right? And attempting to kind of indoctrinate people into this dogma of main gaining, when Revival, you are doing the exact same fucking thing. You are you are presenting yourself. It's really hard for me to accept criticism, somebody who is criticizing another man for his ego while presenting himself as this paragon of gains who is going to help all these poor novices who are stuck in novice purgatory thanks to the evil Greg Doucette. Come to me and I will encourage you to bulk and lift you out of this novice purgatory you're in, and you will see gains again. And you see kind of the people feeding into his own ego in the comment section. Oh, I'm so glad I found your channel. Because of you, I started bulking. I was following Greg and it didn't work. And so it's like, when you attack someone like that, when you make it so personal, you ultimately derail the conversation, and it becomes less about whether or not main gaining is the optimal way to build muscle versus bulking and cutting, but more about you being right and Greg being wrong. And in that, it causes people to become way more close-minded and defend whoever they like better, as opposed to thinking about the strategies and ultimately choosing whichever one is best for them, whether it be bulking and cutting or whether it be main gaining. So, yeah, which is why you see a lot of the conversation and a lot of the response videos surrounding your video be more about your conduct in the video than the information you presented. And sure, you may say, oh, well, that's because I'm right, and they can't debunk what I'm saying. But ultimately, well, again, I do think some of the information you said is sound. I do think there is a few holes in your argument, and to Tom's credit, he made an Instagram post as well as a recent response to you that I think ultimately is able to kind of congeal and bring together the more inconsistent elements of the things Greg has said. It probably won't be good enough for you because it didn't come directly from Greg's mouth, and which is the only thing that will probably satisfy you is a response directly from Greg, so that you can attempt to tear it to shreds, because you completely dismiss any other definition or any other attempt to reconcile the more contradictory elements of main gaining by anybody in your comment section. So you've placed yourself in a position to, no matter what, claim to be right. And I don't think that does anything for the conversation, nor does it do anything for the people watching you, and it certainly doesn't do anything for the names of the people that you've dragged through the mud. Because the issue of the video to me, because he does make a lot of good points, but I find that he hyper focuses on a lot of very specific things that are ultimately unimportant. And even if it is important, he focuses on them so much to the point where it's like, okay, we get it. Like, again, the one where it's like, you don't need an extra 200 to 300 calories to bulk up. Like, you're right, that is a bit of a contradiction, but it's also rationalized in the sense of, like, if you are already at a reasonable maintenance, you don't need to bulk. Again, I am not advocating for main gaining. I am simply giving additional context. It's like, if you are too lean, bulk a little bit. And then stop when you are at a good point. Which, yes, is a lean bulk, which is a contradiction. Which is a good point, but again, hyper-specifying to make it seem like Greg is evil, in my opinion, is a little bit disingenuous. But you want to talk about a little bit disingenuous and intellectually dishonest? Let's talk about the fact that you, throughout the entire video, have this air of arrogance, and you're almost so smug because I know I'm right about my bulking. Here is all the proof, and it's almost as if you challenge anybody who disagrees with you to prove you wrong, as opposed to inviting other people who disagree with you to have a discussion. You are trying to invoke a debate and not a discussion, and it is shown, it is evident in how you interact with anybody who disagrees with you in your comment section. You basically give them a massive middle finger and say, hey, well, screw you, I'm right, idiot. And ultimately, that culminates in the reply that you gave to me when I defended Tom from what, in my opinion, was the most egregious part of your video, and the part that really cemented and showed your intellectual dishonesty. Because Tom, you paint Tom as this nut-hugging shill who doesn't know anything and can't defend his own opinions, and all you do is show the comments that Tom left on your channel. Which, honestly, I would have no issue with. Because like you said in your reply to me, those were his words, he left them on my channel. And you are right. So you are fully welcome to show those comments and criticize them. However, you took it a step further to find the video that Greg made on him, while you admitted yourself that he is not in the thumbnail. So it takes a little bit more effort. You can't just Google Tom Lazor at Greg Doucette and come up with, oh, there he is in the thumbnail. You had to check it out. You had to check out the video to make sure that Tom was in it, and on top of that, you dug to go into his Instagram and click the link tree in his Instagram to figure out that he was an affiliate link, just to drag his name through the mud and call him a nut hugger and a shill. So, sure, yeah, you're right, you can, show his public comments, you can criticize those public comments, but when you go the extra length to research him and to go into his Instagram just to drag him, that is intellectually dishonest at best, and straight up lying about somebody in order to suit your narrative at absolute worst. And I am inclined to believe the latter as opposed to the former, because let's be real, if you know about the video that Greg did on Tom, there is no way in hell the first place you went or the first place you discovered after that was his Instagram. Tom is a creator here on YouTube that has been supported by a ton of people, myself and people who are way bigger, Greg, Joffrey Verdi Schofield, who is somebody that you actually support and saw the video that he made in response to you. And that video that he linked, that Greg made, was about Tom's YouTube. So there's no fucking way in hell that you didn't know about Tom's YouTube. And yet, instead of actually going onto his YouTube channel, where one of the most recent long-form contents that Tom has made was a video thoroughly explaining his views on main gaining, you go into his Instagram in order to shit on him. That is, to me, some of the most intellectually dishonest shit you can do. And because of that, people are throwing shit Tom's way, saying that he's just a shill, and that he shouldn't have affiliated with Greg because people think he's a nut hugger. I had already finished filming this video, and I am actually adding this section in because I got a comment to address comments like this.
This guy is getting affiliate codes and getting commissions for selling Greg Doucette's products, literally in his own link tree. And he's going to come and try to be the objective arbiter of truth about main gaining.
Where it's like, oh, I hope you're not just shilling for Greg because you're an affiliate. Listen, I'm gonna be real. Anybody who says that has no idea who I am. Because not only does anybody who actually watches me know the type of person I am and know that I speak the truth whether people like it or not, but they also know that I'm poor as fuck. And I'm talking about poor as poor can be. I am currently having money struggles right now, living off my savings, and which is one of the reasons why I'm so grateful to the people who support me on Patreon. But I make zero money from those affiliate links. To me, it's pretty much just a brag. Ooh, I'm an affiliated YouTuber. They mean fuck all. You wanna know the most money I've ever made out of those affiliate links? $9. $9 fucking dollars. And you want to know who actually bought the products? Tom Lazoric, before he had his own code. So Tom, you are the only person who has ever bought anything using my affiliate link. So for anybody who's thinking I'm getting rich off of my Greg Doucette affiliate links, I'm really fucking not. I stated in my original video announcing I was affiliated that I didn't have any of Greg's products to try because I was too poor to buy them. I just have money better spent in other areas, and it is still true. That is why you don't see me have protein powders and stuff behind me in my videos, because I am affiliated, not sponsored. I get nothing for free except for the Meatless Cookbook, which he sent me. But in terms of products, I get nothing for free, and I do not have the money to buy them. So for anybody who's going to come in and be like, oh, you're affiliated, you're biased, no, I'm really not. I don't get a whole lot out of being affiliated with Greg aside from saying that I'm affiliated with Greg. I'm sure that's not a good enough argument for the people who are going to use that against me, but I figured I would throw it in the video anyway. And that to me is infuriating, because Tom is one of the most positive figures in the fitness community today. More positive than me, more positive than Joff, arguably, probably more no, not even arguably. He is more positive than Greg. Greg has had more of a positive impact, in my opinion, but Tom is almost never aggressive. So he is sure as fuck, at the end of the day, more positive than you. Tom has a persona of kindness, pure kindness, and almost no aggression. Even the video that he recently made in response to you was very calm, collected, high ground-esque, and almost had zero aggression. It was more just like, hey man, why the heck would you do this? Lucky for Tom that I am a boxer with a very aggressive boxing style and a very aggressive personality. So when I enter the fight, aggression is almost guaranteed. So I am here to supplement the aggression that Tom is surely lacking in his diet at this point. But, like, I don't understand it. Because you chastise and get mad at Greg for misleading his audience. And yet, you are willing to mislead your audience about a smaller YouTuber who undeniably, objectively, is one of the most positive people among us that is currently producing content, who is supported by a multitude of content creators who all disagree on various aspects of fitness and don't, in certain cases, even really like each other. Both Greg Doucette and Joffrey Verity Schofield support Tom. And I'm pretty sure we all know that Greg Doucette and Joffrey Verity Schofield don't get along. And so how can you sit there in your ivory tower, calling yourself the Bulk King, right? Trying to talk down on others about lying and misinforming your audience when you are willing to lie and misinform your audience about a smaller creator. And to all the people who hate Greg, you were so mad when Greg attacked Joffrey Verity Schofield and took down his video. Rightfully so. And a lot of people were super friggin' mad at Greg for the whole Gigi Nally situation because he allegedly mistreated this smaller creator. I still think Greg's video on Gigi was fine, but yet you are actively, you're watching Revival Fitness, who has over 10 times the sub count that Tom has, who actively misleads his audience about the type of person that Tom is, who goes out of his way to find Tom's Instagram, go through the link tree just to drag Tom's name through the mud, and you guys are perfectly okay with that? Where is your consistency?
That's great stuff, Tom. So here's what you're going to do now, okay? Get Greg's dick out of your mouth and explain how this works, okay? Explain how, given all these contradictions we've seen, he's totally upright, never flip-flopped, it makes perfect sense, easy to understand. Go ahead and explain it, dude. I'm not going to delete your comment. I won't do it. YouTube might if you say a swear word. But go ahead and explain yourself. Do your best. 5-paragraph essay. Go ahead.
This video isn't about main gaining. All the shit I talked about at the start was mainly just a disclaimer and to kind of get out of the way the fact that, like, while there is some things I certainly think are incredibly valid in your 2-hour-long documentary, there are also a lot of things in the way that you presented your information that I really do not agree with. But the ultimate thing is the massive hypocrisy in getting mad at other people for their egos while you sit in your ivory tower claiming that you're right and challenging other people to prove you wrong because nobody can. And that is especially evident in the comment that I left you, because I literally started it with, I do not care about the main gaining debate. I think what you did to Tom was wrong. I think you lied about Tom and that was wrong. And how did you simply reply? Oh, well, say what you want, but those that defend him can't define main gaining. Those were his words. I just simply put his words up on the screen. Well, yeah, you're right, but you also went out of your way to find his Instagram in order to drag his name through the mud to suit your narrative. You want to talk about being a politician? Revival Fitness. You want to talk about shilling for a narrative and shilling for an ideology to make you money? You want to talk about that? Because let's not pretend that you haven't made a ton of videos on main gaining and Greg Doucette, and let's not pretend that you didn't know that this massive documentary would get a shit ton of views and would probably make you money, unless your channel isn't monetized, in which case then maybe I'm wrong. But even then, you know it gets you clout, you know it gets you notoriety, you know it'll get your name in the fitness space. And so everything, and like you said in your video, how can you get mad at people for clout chasing when you yourself are doing it? Just like you said, I can't call you a clout chaser if I support Greg, because Greg's whole business model is clout chasing. I'm not getting mad at you for clout chasing. I'm getting mad at you for being a fucking hypocrite. For sitting up there and talking down on others, as opposed to opening up genuine conversation and ultimately lying about somebody who certainly didn't deserve to be lied to. Or lied about, rather, in the name of dragging Greg Doucette's name through the mud because you knew it would get you views. You're just as intellectually dishonest as they come, or at least you're just as intellectually dishonest as you're making Greg out to be. And it's funny when I see people get mad at the whole ego side of things. Oh, because you kind of talk about that. Greg is too prideful to admit when he's wrong, because that's why he has all the different definitions of main gaining. And yet you are too prideful in yourself to look across the aisle, attempt to understand someone else's point of view, and even try and recognize when you've crossed a line. Even if ultimately your information is correct, you can't even begin to admit to yourself that you've crossed a line. And some people will say, well, hey, Eli, you're a hypocrite. Look at the video you made on Ethan Harold, and that crossed a line. But I think the big difference between myself and Revival Fitness is I was actually willing to have conversations with people who disagreed with me. I understood where people were coming from, even if they unsubscribed from me. I didn't just say, fuck you, you're wrong, I'm right, haha. So, yeah, I think you are, Revival, I think you are one of the least you're not the person who should talk when it comes to encouraging cult-like dogma, intellectual dishonesty, lying to your audience, clout chasing, and overall, you're just fucking mean-spirited, man. Like, relax. But anyway, that's really all I have to say for this video. I made it because I wanted to defend my friend from slander. Because slander is spoken, print is liable. But that's all I have to say for this video. Until the next one, thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, including Tom Lazoric. You all mean the world. It encourages me to continue to push out content like this despite my incredibly hectic schedule. And until the next one, remember, only the strong subscribe. I am not dead yet, and if you are not either, there is always a tomorrow waiting for you.